spooky friends. I'm John, and I'm your host. And welcome to another episode of Dairyland Frights, the paranormal podcast that covers everything creepy, spooky, and mysterious in the Midwest. I am super pumped tonight, my spooky friends, to have Brie Hollingshead with me as my special guest. Hi, Brie. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, John?
I'm doing great. So, Brie, tell my spooky audience a little bit about yourself and what interested you in the paranormal.
Okay, well, I grew up in a haunted home. I had my first experience when I was like 6, younger than my daughter, who I take on my road trips when I can.
Yes.
Yeah, I woke up in the middle of the night and looked over and thought my mom was sitting. I had like 2 twin beds side by side, and I looked over and thought my mom was sitting with her back to me, and I was like, Mom, and she moved, and when she moved, I could see through her face, and so that was like my first experience was a full-bodied apparition, and then she just disappeared. Like, even talking about it, I get like chills thinking about it. Like, she disappeared. But so I do paranormal road trips. I go around the state of Ohio, but I just became the brand ambassador for Get Haunted, so I do my road trips with them, but I mainly do my paranormal road trips, and so my hashtags are like Be Like Brie and Paranormal Road Trips. You'll see me all over socials, and I try to bring the history into the haunting, because there's no haunting without history. So that's my...
And I love that. Yeah, I love that about your clips, Brie. I when I saw you on, I think I saw you on Twitter for the first time, I'm like, I gotta have her on my show. She's so interesting, and she goes to interesting places. And you're just not there to, like, some people are there to scare, you know what I mean? Like, we're gonna go into the tunnel now, and oh my God, there's something in there, run! And I'm like, okay, I get it, it's fine. But you're a little more informative, a little more fun, and that's what I love about you. So that is awesome.
Oh,
so can I ask you a question about your experience really quick?
Yeah.
Was this a residual haunting? I mean, did you see this woman? You said you didn't see her again. Is that correct?
Well,
like, she wouldn't show up at 3:00 in the morning. Yeah, when you were 6 years old.
I don't really remember if I saw her again. There's no way I will ever forget seeing her, because it was my mom. And when I told my mom the next day, she actually pulled out a picture of my great grandma, and that was who I actually had seen, was my great grandma, come to find out. So I've had paranormal experiences my whole life. That house, we'd have poltergeist activity. So even where we live at here, we've got 2, possibly a third spirit. So I don't know if I accidentally brought a hijacker home, or one can sense that I'm sensitive to stuff. Like, I can hear and talk. So, like, I don't know if one decided to be like, hey, let me come hang out with you, because I'm here.
Yeah, I love that. One of my former guests, she has a cave on her land that she believes a cryptid is in there, because she has like a farm. And she woke up one morning and all her chickens were ripped apart, like an animal. And she's like, it's not a wolf, it's not a bear, it's this and she's been in this cave trying to figure it out. Like, she said, there's something on there. And I'm like, damn, that is scary,
Whoa.
I don't know. I've never lived in a haunted house, but I just love the paranormal, just for the sole fact of talking to people like you and everything. One thing, though, I have to ask you a question. Is when COVID was happening and you were at home, did you notice any more, like, paranormal or less, would you say?
Well, I've been in this house since 2021. When COVID hit, I actually lived in Wisconsin. I lived in Racine. So in the building that I lived in was one of the original houses on the north end of Racine. It was a storefront down below, and then like where the family would live up above. And We always had really heavy activity. The kids, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Hat Man. We had
Yes, I have.
we had the Hat Man in the basement that would chase the
Ooh.
kids up, like when it was their turn to go do the laundry, like the Hat Man would chase them up the stairs, and they kept telling us there's a man wearing a hat downstairs, and we'd be like,
Yeah.
I mean, I believed in it, but my husband at the time was very much like anti-paranormal, and so
skeptic, sure.
I was like, oh yeah, but then like behind closed doors, I'm like, I totally believe you. Like, I know he's down there. I haven't seen him, but I believe you. And like I would say that there was a lot more activity because like my one son John, when they closed the schools, like a couple of his friends didn't have anywhere to go. I mean, there wasn't much to do with kids. And so I was an essential worker, and I was working in an office for a company that made parts for like air tanks and like the stands that you see the Purell pumps in, like they made those stands.
Sure.
So I was in the office handling all the orders, but I was like, if you've got a friend that needs a place to go, I mean, I know we're not supposed to be around each other, but by God, I'm not going to let a kid be home alone, like bring your friends over. And it did pick up because one of his friends like started antagonizing, and like I got home one night and he was in there antagonizing, and I was like, no, we don't do that in this home. You're not the one who lives here. We do. But ironically, whenever he was in the house, the spirits would like, and they started antagonizing him back. Like they weren't mean to him, but they would start messing with him and his stuff. And so he got to the point where he was like, all right, Mom, I'm not going to do it again. And I'm like, thank you. Like, you're going to learn your lesson, like, and like one of the boys was like, oh my God, there's a demon in here. And I'm like, no, no, you're being an asshole, and they're being an asshole back. Okay. Like,
right.
What do you expect?
Exactly.
I'm not going to go to your house and like start picking on you and name calling and expect you to just be like, oh, I love you. You can stay forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things about people don't understand about spirits is they were alive at one time, right? Yeah. And just like a regular person, is I come up to Brie and say, hey, Brie, your hair looks terrible tonight. You'd be like, what? Screw you, John. It looks great, by the way. It looks great. But if I said that, then, it would be like, hey, that's kind of hurtful. I'm going to mess with your hair, right? If you were a spirit and you would like, whatever, do something to my hair, maybe, right? Just to mess with me. Right. But if I say, oh, Brie, you look beautiful tonight. You have beautiful hair. You might be like, oh, thanks, John. And, maybe put a cookie out for me or something. I don't know.
I would do something nice. Yeah. Like.
Yeah, exactly.
Figure something out. I got one here that likes to help with the laundry. So, maybe I'd go help with your laundry.
Oh, can I have that?
Right. I call him Bob. So I don't know where Bob came from, but Bob's what keeps popping in my head. Right. So we run
Bob.
with it. It's Bob that's in the basement and likes to fold laundry. He keeps opening the dryer. So
oh, it's so nice of Bob. So do you have a personal paranormal experience that you like to share with my audience? It can be scary, it can be funny, whatever you want to share. That's one of your favorites.
Oh my gosh, I've got so many, especially now that I've been doing a lot of like events and investigations.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm out there. Like, I'm actually going to be going to an investigation this Saturday too. So
you'll
be seeing that. Yeah, I'll be going live I'm hoping the Wi-Fi will work and I can go live from the location. I'm real excited. So, the building in Racine, actually, the owner was selling it, and so I had to come home from work to let a bunch, like there's like 2 or 3 different realtors that were coming through, and they each had like 2 or 3 different groups that they were walking through. And we have cats. So I was like, well, I need to be there to make sure these cats, my rescues don't get out. I'm not a crazy cat lady, but I had a cat and each kid had a cat. So we had 4 cats.
Right.
But, so I made sure they did the walkthrough of the living quarters upstairs, and they went down afterwards to the empty shop below us, and they were supposed to lock up when they were done. So I go downstairs and the door's like wide open, and I'm like, okay. So like I'm calling out, like, is anybody in here? Nobody's responding. So I'm calling like the landlord, and I'm like, can you verify that everybody's done? They left the door open. And I know you told them to shut everything up. And he was like, oh, yeah. I just got the text. All the realtors are done. You can go ahead and close it up. And I'm like, okay. Well, where I was at was we always use the back entrance to the building. And so you got the back door. And then there's the door that goes down to the basement, the door that goes upstairs, and then the door that's straight ahead that would go into the shop. But that door, if you slammed it, like you had to slam it hard because it was like a door that would pop back. And so, like, I put every ounce of weight behind it, slammed it, and the door bounced back. And I'm like, well, that shouldn't have happened. So I go to close it, and an arm reaches out. Like, I can see I can see the body. I can see the arm reaches out, and it's got, like, the Victorian lace. Like, I even got goosebumps talking about it right now.
Oh,
I can see the Victorian lace going down her arm, and it came to, like, the V. And it was, like, a gray arm that you could see straight through. Grabbed the handle of the door and slammed the door shut. And I was like, with that, I'm going back to work. I was like, you have a good night. I'll see you in a couple hours. So that was probably one of my favorites, because to see full-bodied apparitions, to see, especially to see them grab a physical object and manipulate that physical object. You don't ever, how often do you really see that? So that's probably one of my favorites.
Oh, I love that story. So I'm a pretty big guy, but I always tell my spooky friends, I am not ashamed to say I would scream like a little girl and run the other way. You are more braver than I am. Yeah, I'd scream like a little girl and bam, I am gone. And people would be like, what is that little girl? Oh, it's a guy. Oof. You're my hero. Yeah, I'm out.
I won't lie. I mean, I did turn around pretty quick, and I was like, you have a good day? I'm locking up. I'm leaving now. Like, I was just like, because I believe, regardless if it's a good or a bad spirit, my personal belief is that we're all mischievous to a level. And if you show that fear or you show concern, like you're giving a door, regardless if they're good, bad, or ugly, to try to play with you. And I don't necessarily want a ghost trying to play with, a spirit trying to play with you. So I did turn around and get out of there pretty damn quick, though. I won't lie. I didn't run, I didn't scream, but I was like, I'm out.
I'm definitely out. So Brie, I got a great topic for you tonight. Okay. So my last show, I did top 10 scariest places in Wisconsin. Please listen to it and, critique it. If you think like, you're off or whatever. Tonight, I hope you brought an extra pair of pants so you don't pee yourself. Okay. Because this is going to be scary. We are going on a Midwest haunted road trip to some of the scariest places around the Midwest. Okay?
Yes!
So,
love it.
Brie, if you have, if you go, I've been there, I love that, that's on my bucket list, whatever, I'm going there in next year, whatever. So, first I got to get to my sources here, because I got to, make sure everybody gets their credit, and then we'll get to the fun stuff. So, this is what I love. There was one I found called this is the name of the website, Just Short of Crazy website. And it was this young woman like yourself who travels around the country and visits places. Then I got from the Travel Channel, Scariest Places, and then a Road Trippers website. So 3 different websites, kind of 3 different views of what's scary and everything. Now, with this list, Brie, and my spooky friends, you may say, oh, that's not so scary. I know scarier places. Please send me at dairylandfrights@gmail.com scarier places or places you've been to, because I love to hear it. I love to share it with you. So let's begin in our little road trip. Okay. It's hard. We're gonna go to Wisconsin first. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna go to Wisconsin first. Now, you're from Racine. You've probably heard of the Summerwind Mansion.
Yes.
Have you heard of that? Okay.
Yes.
So the Summerwind Mansion is located on an Indian burial ground. I just talked about it last week. So, listen to the episode last week. But just to kind of tell you, it's changed a lot since, probably like 4 or 5 years ago. It's on private property, so be careful so you're not arrested. I don't want anybody getting in trouble. Also, really, most of the mansion is no longer there because there was a fire a number of years ago, destroyed most of the mansion. Nobody knows to this day, Brie, who set that fire. Nobody. Nobody's come forward, no vandals, no, the townsfolk. But remember, the Summerwind Mansion, reason I always put it as the top scariest place, because one, it's on an Indian burial ground. Two, a family went insane there. A guy, the father of this family who owned this, would play his organ at like 3 a.m, and his kids would come down and they would try to talk to him, and he'd be like, who are you and what's going on? Like he was possessed. Numerous ghosts have haunted it. So you still can go to it. Like I said, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's up at Land O'Lakes in Geneva, Wisconsin. So even if you go up there and you be like, oh, John, I couldn't get on the property, whatever, it's still worth the trip. So that was the first one. So now we're going to go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we're going to go to the Pfister Hotel. Have you heard of this one, Brie?
Yes, that's a great place. That's got some good stories out of there.
Yeah, so people, if you go here, remember, this is like a really nice hotel. So yeah, you can bring your kids and you can have fun, but it's opulent, it's beautiful. It's like something out of a frozen time period of like the 30s and 40s, or, even later than that. The funny thing I love about it is the visiting team's hotel for the Milwaukee Brewers. So these big baseball players will stay there and they'll all get freaked out. Like they'll want to leave. Like they'll be like, nope, I'm out. I'm gone. See ya.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so like people who have been there, there are certain rooms you can stay in. Again, listen to Pfister Hotel. We actually did a thing on Dairyland Price about it. The main thing about it is, too, there's a number of ghosts. Most of them are nice to you, but there's some are not. So, again, like anything, Brie, right? If you treat them with respect, they're going to respect you. If you don't, just know, too, that the Pfister Hotel, the ghosts love moving your stuff around. So people have said they've laid their clothes out, and then they go in the bathroom, they come back, and their clothes are gone. Or their cell phone is gone, or something, So just know that if you're going there, just be prepared for a lot of mischief more than scares. So, any comments on any of those two before we move on to the next one?
No, I keep hearing about the Pfister though, and that's actually I've always been tempted to just go get a room, like find like the scariest room that they've got, that they say they've got, and just to see like what would happen, because I'm intrigued by haunted hotel rooms because you're in a confined space. You've got just your living area plus your bathroom and maybe a closet or two. So in such a confined space, I think that ups the ante on the fear factor.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where it's going to come from. And there's nowhere to go. You've got one entrance, one exit. I guess you could count your windows, but I wouldn't do that.
Right.
Maybe there's like a fire escape, but
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things too is it's super funny is I've told this story before, but when I was on business, I was in Nashville about 2 or 3 years ago, and we stayed at a haunted hotel in Nashville. Nothing happened to me, of course, Brie. Like, come on. But two of my coworkers, one heard a woman's voice as clear as day. His name is Daniel. A clear as day heard Daniel, like 3:00 in the morning in his ear.
Whoa.
Daniel. And he would hear that, and he thought he was late for a meeting, like somebody's messing with him, right? So he wakes up, looks around, no one's there, 3:00 in the morning. The next story, because I kept on asking people, and people knew I'm into the paranormal, so they'd always come up to me at breakfast. And, I always, the other thing too, I wanted to switch rooms. Nobody would switch rooms with me. So whatever. The other thing was there was a guy who's like your husband, like your ex-husband was a skeptic and everything like that.
Right.
And what would happen with him was the bathroom door would open and then close. And then the light would come up. And then it would do that repeatedly. Then there would be pounding on the door like 4:00 in the morning, like boom, 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 And he's thinking it's just a bunch of drunk a-holes coming back from, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just messing with you, whatever. So then the second time that happened, he stood by the door, waiting to catch somebody, right? Like, I'm going to get you this time. And then same 4:00 in the morning, boom, 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 boom. Opens the door. No one's there.
Nobody's there.
No one's there. And what was funny about this guy, and I don't know if you've met people like this, Brie, with your, road trips and stuff. He wouldn't believe anything. Like I said, there's residual haunting in that room. And he's like, no, man. It's just electrical wiring and that cheap door and some a-hole bag. And I tried everything to convince him. He's like, nah, I don't believe it. I'm like, okay, bud. And like I said, I'll switch rooms with you tonight. Can I switch rooms? And he's like, no, man, I ain't switching rooms with you. I'm like, come on, And he just kept up. He just, whatever. Right, whatever.
I'm whipping
anyway,
out my chattergeist and my boo box.
Yeah, same with me. Right, get out the iPhones, make some. Right. So the next state we're driving to is Indiana. So this one is the Story Inn in Nashville, Indiana. And I love this ghost, but just at the end, you might not love it.
Okay.
So
I'm ready for this one.
Story Inn, you can stay in the blue room. Okay. That is the haunted room. And it is haunted by the Blue Lady. And she is said to be the wife of Dr. George Story, the original owner of Story Inn, obviously. And this is a bed and breakfast, by the way. And guests have recorded, and you can look this up on YouTube, guests have recorded hundreds of encounters with her. Okay, so she is not bashful at all. Now, this is the funniest thing. Guests have said who have seen her or have spoken to her or met her, whatever, she smells like cherry tobacco, okay? And she also frequently leaves behind items blue in color. So she has left behind like blue scarves, blue plates, blue cups, blue whatever. Now, like I said, if you're interested, you can stay in the Blue Lady room. If you go on the Story Inn site, just know that, this is a lot of people go there, paranormal investigators and just people who want to thrill. One of the biggest things you can do too is, like I said, if you stay there, you got to do it in advance. I guess that's my point. But you know how you summon her, Brie? There's a blue light in your room. You turn it on, and almost like magic, she appears. So now, here's the last thing that you may not like about her. She's a little touchy-feely. She likes to get into bed with you, and she doesn't care if you're a man or a woman. She likes to explore certain areas. Let's just say that.
But is she big spoon or little spoon? That's all I need to know.
From people say she is little spoon. So just know, if you go there, you may have a little bit of a problem. There's actually stories out there where people have had to like fight her off, per se, not in a bad way. Like, hey.
I don't know. I have no idea. like, I've always wondered that. Like, what do you do? Like, because I've never.
Don't know.
I mean, I've had my butt touched, but I mean, like, I've never had one like climb into bed and try anything. Like, how what would you? I mean, you're going to be like fighting yourself. You're fighting the air.
Correct. People have usually done like stop it, or like, hey, blue lady, don't touch me there, or something. You know, something to the effect of like someone's getting a little grabby at a bar. Right. There you go. So if you stay there, Brie, just know.
I got to tell her where the no-no zone is.
Yeah, right. You got to be like, all right, look, I know you're a little touchy-feely.
Right here? Here is okay. Legs are okay. But from here to here is a no-no.
So, but she's friendly. No one has ever complained about her, like, you know, scaring the crap out of them. And like I said, if you want to stay in this room, you're going to have to do it in advance to take a look. So let's get out of the blue room. And now we're going to go to an asylum. And this one is in Winchester, Indiana, Randolph Asylum. Now, you see, I will put pictures up of this on Twitter and stuff later so you can take a look at. Just imagine the spookiest, scariest asylum you could imagine. This is it. So it is, like I said, it is in Winchester, Indiana. And the reason why it's just like, yeah. The thing about this is it was basically death was everywhere here for its years of operation as an infirmary, as an asylum. There are over 50, unmarked graves on this site. Yeah. So, and records say there was everything from people dying from old age, suicide, tuberculosis, you name it. People, again, go on YouTube, you can see it. There's a ton of stuff of people going. But if you do go in this asylum, just know, please wear protective clothing because there's a lot of asbestos and other things. So if you're checking that out,
there is. Okay, I'm actually got invited to an investigation out there in October, so
nice.
That's good to know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it is to me. Again, when I was looking at it, there's just I could without doing the whole episode, which I will do an episode on it later. It's worth an entire episode. There are ghosts everywhere. There's people, like I said, who committed suicide. So there's all this strange, dark shadows and just a lot of things going on. So, anything to add about those places until we drive to the next state?
Well, Randolph's a good one. Randolph's been on a few shows. So, yes. And
very,
like I said, cool. I just got invited last weekend to Randolph. And that one is so tempting to do.
Yeah.
That's because the events that come out of Randolph with the rooms and
yes, yeah.
I mean they've got shadow people. I think they've got a crawler, if I remember correctly. They've got a crawler. They got a couple crawlers actually, because they've got one in the basement and then there's one upstairs in the living quarters too that they've caught going across the ceiling.
Very, very dark place.
I'll be honest, I've never seen a crawler. I don't know if I really want to see a crawler, but I've never seen. That's one thing I have not seen. I've seen shadow people. I've seen apparitions. I've seen orbs, not like in a picture. I've seen orbs, like balls of light move through.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a crawler. And I don't really have like I'm not doing like a apparition, bingo or anything. I'm not really trying to see it, but
yeah. Absolutely.
It would be interesting to see that, I think.
Oh, yeah. Interestingly scary, but I agree with you. It'd be pretty cool to see, especially if you got evidence of it and everything. So, now we're going to go to Illinois, and we're going to go to Alton, Illinois, which the entire town is haunted.
Yeah.
So, and I've been to Savannah, Georgia, where literally everything is haunted there. I mean,
Oh,
everywhere I
yeah.
went, people are like,
Yeah,
that's
it's
haunted,
crazy
that's
there.
haunted, that's. So, Alton, Illinois is considered one of the most haunted small towns in America. So, the reason they say it's one of the most haunted is because I don't know if you've ever heard this, Brie. Flowing water is in the town. So there's like a creek, a really powerful creek. And people say that flowing water in a town, like inside the town, makes the spirits like more powerful or attracts them, something to that effect. So there's numerous places in Alton, Illinois that are haunted. So I don't know. Have you heard the flowing water theory about why it makes it more haunted?
Yeah, the theory it's just like the theory with the limestone and the different stones. It's the mineral properties, and it's also like with the flowing, it's a conduit because it's constantly moving. There's energy with it moving that with that energy that spirits can draw from. And like moving water, especially during like a thunderstorm, can be more I'm trying to think of like the word for it. But running water during like a thunderstorm is more conducive of an environment for the electricity for them to like it's not so much electricity, but it's the movement, it's the energy,
it's like the conduit or something.
It's a complete conduit for spirits, just like like any type of like if you go to a quarry, certain stones. There's, I know in Arkansas that there's certain towns in Arkansas where they say the whole town is haunted. Especially in Arkansas, you had a lot of the overnight healing, locations where they would build a lot of them are used for like bed and breakfast and hotels now, but where they would have like the doctor selling like the elixirs and stuff, and they would be like, it's the mineral springs, and because of the minerals that was in the water, that's supposed to be like a conduit, just like a quarry could be just, like limestone, certain different types of minerals, are more effective from what I've heard. Now, have I done a scientific study on it? No. Have I noticed more activity with certain things? Yes.
Yes.
I think it's one of those where we each have to make our own decision on. Because we're all going to have different experiences. But I do believe that running water is a conduit. I do agree with that. I think that's why the Queen Mary still has her hauntings. It's not just what happened in the Queen Mary, but you've got water constantly moving up. You got tide. And I think that's huge.
Yeah, and that's really cool. Yeah, that's a really cool theory. I love that theory. Now, you can ask yourself, well, Jonathan, the whole town is haunted. Like, what do I do? I mean, I could be there forever. Well, what you want to do is check out the McPike Mansion. So the McPike Mansion, for more than a century, local lore has held as the home now known as, like I said, the McPike Mansion. The original owner is supposed to haunt that. It's just, again, this could be a show on its own. It has so many different spirits in there. Mostly the owner doesn't like you hanging around in there. There's been a lot of different people who have looked at this and been in there. There are different things. What's weird about this one is there's an apparition that is on the outside. So way it works is people said that they've like tried to get in, to the mansion or whatever that night, or, maybe they didn't get the permits or whatever you want to say to get in there, or, the permission. So they've tried to get in there, and there's like this, what they said, like a person pushing them away. Like you were saying too with your door, you're like somebody's grabbing, trying to slam the door. Like you try to get in there and someone just shoves you back. And there's some evidence, whether you believe or not believe, that's totally up to you, where people have tried it and you see them just get shoved back. Like, like, what the hell was that? You know what I'm saying? So just be careful to know that there's someone on the outside of the walls walking around, keeping an eye on it, that will harm you, because people have been clawed, with scrapes, have been bruises, have found, and they just said, okay, I get it, I'm out.
Yeah.
So
don't want to play around with that type of stuff.
The other town, there's 2 towns in Illinois. And I've been to now this one numerous times with me and my mom. When my mom was alive, she'd always take me here, not for the spiritual and the paranormal, just because she liked it. Galena, Illinois. It is a town that when you go to is frozen in time. Like they still have buildings there that haven't been torn down from the 1800s. So they have bars from the 1800s. They have bed and breakfasts from the 1800s. They have numerous buildings from the 1800s. And when you go down to Galena, Illinois, and it's very touristy, so I warn you, if you go there during the fall with the leaves changing, you're going to be like, tourist. So you might want to go there with the non-tourist season. And there is numerous hauntings, not as Alton, Illinois, but pretty close. It's a close second. There, though, there are nefarious hauntings. In one of the bed and breakfasts, there is the black lady. Not that's her color of her skin. She is a Victorian, dressed in a black, like funeral garb, basically like a funeral dress. That's the best way to describe, with a black veil over. And she doesn't like people very much, especially if you get in her way. She's been known to push people downstairs. She's been known to grab people, to leave marks. She's very cranky. It's the best way to say that.
She's wearing mourning gear. Wow.
If
you're wearing mourning.
Yeah, and you just see a black mist. People have seen a black mist, and the who have seen the apparition, like I said, it's like out of a horror movie. Like she appears in front of you with this black veil, this black dress, and I'm out. I'm booking it out of here. Yeah. So, any comments or anything like that as far as Galena, Mcpike Mansion, Alton, Illinois?
Well, Mcpike. I think everybody knows Mcpike. That's a pretty landmark location right there.
Yeah.
That's made the town. Everybody knows the town because of that mansion.
Right.
I know I've been seeing a lot of investigators recently hit that place up. But Galena, I'm gonna have to go and see if I can get into this bed and breakfast, because this lady needs a hug.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does. She needs someone to be like, "Hey, come here."
My luck, I'll be the one tossed over the railing from the top floor.
No, Brie, no. Yeah, I'd be scared of that.
I'll be like, "Give me a hug. I just want
to love you." Whoa! I'm okay, kids. I'm okay.
I'm all right. It's broken arm.
I'm gonna get through that cold heart.
She's gonna let me hug her one of these days.
Hey, come on. So awesome. So, you're gonna say something else? I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to Michigan. What do you think of lighthouses, Brie? Do they scare you?
Oh my gosh! No, I just did a lighthouse here in Ohio. I love lighthouses.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, they've got fun. They can have fun stories. They're sad stories because what lighthouses were used for and the connotations that go along with them. And typically it's been said that with the beacon, the light of the lighthouse, that draws the lost spirits, the lost souls to that location. So they can have fun stories, but I think they also got sad stories too. Like the one I did, it had a fun story to it. But I know that there's a lot out there that actually typically go on the more sadder side than what I found. So
right. So this one is Whitefish Point Lighthouse in Chippewa County, Michigan. So it's a typical lighthouse, nothing really special about it. It's very beautiful, very well maintained, which is good. But The problem is if you stay near there or take tours, there's stories of doors opening. Sorry, Brie, but women are being touched while sleeping. And yes, you can spend, like I said, the night in the lighthouse if you would like. And also, this is freak. Floating heads are prevalent. So you will see a floating head come around, you know,
So like Sleepy Hollow, like there's just a head floating by.
Yeah. I don't know about you, that scared the crap out of me. If I saw a floating head, like, ah!
I don't know.
How about you?
I mean, I think it's one of those, like, I do isolation challenges on investigations, though, so
Ooh.
I don't know if a floating head would get me. I was expecting a locker to fly open on me this past weekend, but that probably would have made me scream like a little kid, but not gonna lie. But a floating head, I don't know, like, I think that'd be something I'd have to, like, experience to see if it would make me act like a little kid.
Kid. Like,
I might scream. I don't know. I'm so because of what I do.
Yeah.
I really push myself not to scream. So I might be like, ah. And I might walk away and then put my camera down and like scream at a pillow or something, you know, but
there you go. But you know, like I said, you can stay at this lighthouse. You can stay at this lighthouse. You know, to me, I would love it because I'm one of those people who sometimes gets insomnia. So I listen to like crashing waves. You know what I mean? Like rain.
Oh, that would be sleep. Cool. Yeah.
So I like to check that out. So
that would be awesome.
The next one is the Nahma Inn in Nahma, Michigan. And this is always these sad ones. It has the ghost of Miss Nell, still resides there today, and she's waiting for her love of her life to return. So what happened was her same old story. Her husband went on a ship, did not come back. They believed he died. And of course, she was looking out the window for him, you know, waiting for his ship to come. It never happened. And she's really sad. So you will see Miss Nell. And I didn't say with certain rooms. She pretty much is all over the inn from what they said. And you will see a young woman, in a white dress, looking out the window, you know, longingly, you know, waiting for. If you try talking to her, though, she disappears. So she's very shocked. So she doesn't try to throw you over the railing. She needs a hug, Brie. This is Miss Nell.
This one really does need a hug. This one needs a hug. She needs her hair stroked and told that she's loved. And it's
yeah. So there are other ghosts there too of children and everything. It's not very scary. It's more playful. They're more like, you know, women have said they have felt like a children's hand grab their hand. Like your child grabs your hand, be like, mommy, you know. So women say they feel that. They have seen her, you know, like I said, Miss Nell, and everyone says that they just start crying and feel really, really sad once they see her. And so maybe not as scary, but still very interesting. And yeah, so it's somewhere you can stay, maybe not as scary, but still a sad place to go. So anything about the lighthouse again, or Miss Nell and her lost husband at sea?
I think both are worth looking at. I mean, I'll be honest, I've never heard of the second one before. I know the first one I've heard of because it's a landmark lighthouse.
Yeah. Right.
But the second location, Numa, I mean, I'm interested in going. Because there's so much that was so frequent, you know, when the husbands would be on the ships. And typically you do find the spirits of the wives that will wander the properties. They're still looking for their
Yes.
betrothed. They're still looking for their husbands. Sometimes you'll even find the children's spirits, even if they grew to adulthood, they've come back and they're with their mom because she won't leave, and that's the only way they can be together with their mom, you know? So I think it's heartbreaking. That always makes me real sad.
Yeah, doesn't it? Yeah, that's just one of those really sad stories. And there's a lot of them that you hear, especially around the New England area. There's a lot because of, things like where most shipping was prevalent. And, that's the majority of the income. So now we're going to Iowa. And I know you've heard of this one. If you haven't heard of this one, what rock have you been under? The Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa. You've heard of that one. Have you been there at all?
No, that's on my bucket list. That's a bucket list. I actually would love to do a full, complete 12-hour overnight investigation there. That's nice. I really want to go there.
Okay.
Really, I would love. Yeah.
I've been there, and I'll give you a couple things to know about it. First of all, it's in a very small town. This is their thing. Like, everybody knows about it. The cool thing about this, well, I guess it's not the cool thing. This crime has never been solved. There have actually been real live detectives who have been trying to solve this. They have suspects. I did an episode on it on Dairyland Frights. It's never been solved. No one. And here's the thing, Brie. No one has come forward. Like, let's say your great grandpa killed these people and he told you on his deathbed, right? Like, no one's even done that. No one's come like, hey, sorry to tell you, but my great grandpa, he was the one who killed the kids and the entire family. And okay. No, nothing. So it is you can go online, by the way, and take a virtual tour of it if you want to, Brie and my spooky friends. I have a ton of family in Iowa. So not only have I been there, but I have stayed at so many creepy farmhouses, I've lost track because that's my whole side of the family, mom's side of the family is farmers. So you don't understand when you're in a farmhouse, it's just the whole thing radiates paranormal. It's just like, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
I've stayed in those before. Yeah, they do.
And speaking of that, I have to tell this story really quick before I move to the next one. This is my favorite story. And I would buy this house in a second. So tell me if you'd buy this house, Brie.
Okay.
So there's a story where this couple were going to buy this old farmhouse and renovate it, And so they were sitting there talking to the owners, and and all of a sudden they hear some footsteps come downstairs, like a child, excuse me. And the owners, the prospective buyers turn to the owners and say, "Oh, you have a child?" And the owners say, "Sort of." And they're like, the prospective buyer's like, "Sort of." So the door opens from the stairs. Nobody's there. But you still can hear the footsteps of like a little child. Then you hear in the kitchen, the cupboards opening. And so the owners take the prospective buyers and walk them over to the kitchen, and you see plates floating in the air, setting down on the table. You see glasses setting down. You see silverware setting down. And the table is set by this little girl entity. After she does that, you hear little footsteps, and she goes back up, closes the door, and goes back upstairs. So,
does she do that daily?
Does it daily at 6 p.m. every day.
For dinner. She sets the table every day for dinner.
Every day for dinner. Now, the story goes, that's what I said. That's what I said. That's what I said. I said, does she do the dishes? They didn't say that. But unfortunately, the people who saw it, they said, no way. But I don't know to this day if this house is sold or not. But yeah, that's what I said. I was like, absolutely.
That's like It's like dream right there. I mean, not only do I have a haunted house, but my table gets set every night for dinner. That's one less chore my other kids have to do.
So now going back to the Villisca axe murder house, you still can see the marks from the axe from the person when they raised the axe over their head. It is still there. There was one incident that you could look up that's very scary, at least I thought it was. And this comes back to do not antagonize the ghost. So the ghost family supposedly still lives there, but a bunch of EVPs saying, help me and other things like that. But this guy, for whatever reason, did a stay over. And when he was, when the caretaker came back in the morning to, see if he's okay, he was laying on the ground in a pool of his own blood with a knife in his chest. And next to the blood was something like, murder me or murder something to that effect. Now, this guy survived, but once after he survived, he said that I don't get this, but it's a weird story. He said that when he went into the child's room, one of the child's room, he had a knife with him. And I guess he had some mental issues, unfortunately. And he said, kill me, ghost, I dare you to, kill me. Well, the ghost literally, something happened. He said he blacked out, and when he woke up in the hospital, he claims he did not stab himself or anything like that, but he did feel a presence grab the knife and stab him, according to him. And that place in the Villisca house, they cleaned up the blood as best as they could. But if you have a special camera or one of those, what do you call it? Black lights, you can see the pool of blood. And when people go into that room, if you sit down on the bed and you start doing EVPs, supposedly you get a lot of murder. I'll murder you, I'll kill you. You get a lot of evil, very strange EVPs. And that's a room you got to be careful in. And also, pretty much all the original dressers and everything that are there. And the killer, which they still do, when the killer was in there, he took like shirts or towels or something, and he put them over the mirrors. So before he killed a baby, he killed 4 little kids. And they still have like where he put, before he killed, he put stuff over the mirror so he couldn't, I guess, be seen or he's watching himself.
Do you know why?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
It's a Victorian. Okay, this it's a legend. It actually goes all this is hundreds of years old. When there's death in the house, when somebody dies in the house, you cover the mirror so the soul does not get trapped in the mirror. Which is why the Magnolia Plantation, down in Louisiana, they make I don't know if you know much about the Magnolia Plantation. There's a big mirror, and they say that there's handprints like on the inside of the mirror, and no matter what they do, they can't get the handprints off. And it's believed that a spirit got stuck, and that's the spirit. Like the spirit will come out and haunt. It's one of the hauntings of Magnolia, is the spirit that got sucked in because the wife, I think, was killed on the stairs, and then the husband was killed. If I'm remembering the history of that house correctly.
All right.
But yeah, there was like a double murder that happened in the house, and the mirror was right there, and so it's an old Victorian belief that you always want to cover your mirrors so that way the spirits don't get stuck in the mirrors, and you don't end up with a haunting in your home. So him covering the mirrors is actually historically accurate to the time, for one, and for two, it makes sense. But it shows premeditation. That completely will show premeditation too, with him doing that. I know that they figured out that he had to have been sitting in the attic for like 6 to 8 hours prior. to when he murdered the parents, and then the 4 children with that family, and then they had the 2 little girls that were from down the street. So
correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And yes, you can go in the attic. It is, something that, to be honest with you, when I went in there, I am not sensitive at all, Brie, but I felt like sad. I felt like there was something pressing on me, and I just walked out of there after being in there a few minutes. Because I was just walking around, and I was just like, man, I just feel depressed and sad. And I was like, no, I'm out. I just walked downstairs. But like I said, you can stay overnight there. They just put in air conditioning. So if you go in the summer, they do have air conditioning. Before they didn't. And so you could imagine on a hot summer day being overnight in that house. Yikes. Right? No, thank you. So let's move on to my next one, which I just did an episode on it because it's something a little different. Maybe you have heard of this, maybe you haven't, but it's still scary as hell. The Edinburgh Manor in Monticello, Iowa. You know that one? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Yep. I know Ghost Adventures has been there. Yes.
Yep. I've got people asking when I'm going to be going out there to investigate.
Nice.
So I haven't planned on it yet. It's on my bucket list, especially because I keep getting asked. It seems to be gaining popularity right now.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I would definitely like to get in there before everybody starts running for it. But I've seen pictures and I've seen video, and Edinburgh is insane. The activity is off the charts from what I've seen people I know that have gone in with their evidence. So
yes,
that's a good one for your list. Very good.
Yeah, so there's each floor is haunted. The first floor is haunted by a little girl. And now remember, with little girls, people, my spooky friends, and Brie, you probably, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but little girls typically also can be demons. Because remember, a demon will come as a little girl or as a little boy, right? To kind of sucker you into thinking, oh, this poor little girl, she needs a hug. And then before you know it, it's like, this thing eat your soul. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you always want to be careful with little kids' spirits. Like I'm always guarded when I'm dealing with child spirits because there is no guarantee. You want to make sure that, if you are sensitive, if you are intuitive, a medium, you want to make sure that you've got your protections, because if it's not, you're typically the prey,
Yes. So she's on the first floor. You will hear singing, whistling, like a little girl singing, like la 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 la, kind of like that. The second floor is a little bit full of different spirits. There is a spirit in there that is a very dark spirit who committed suicide in one of the rooms. One of the things to remember is, again, if you're coming against something like that, be very careful with dark spirits. They're not to be messed with. The other thing is on each floor, and I put some pictures up on Instagram. You can take a look at them. It closed in, and this is crazy to me, Brie, 2010. So that's not long ago, right? That was the last day of operation. And they left most of their stuff. So I have pictures of like your grandma's room where you see like the robes still on the bed and the blankets and the slippers like your grandma or grandpa would wear. They left too a whole bunch of medical records. Just left them. They left.
I don't get that.
What? Yeah. Like they just said,
like 2010, go. There's HIPAA. Like there's HIPAA in 2010. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It's strange, isn't it?
Like, I'm surprised that they're still there because of HIPAA. Like,
I have a PDF of all this stuff.
Like, I can't fathom that. Like, it's like, okay, for one, there's laws that are protecting the patients that are there. So what the hell? But two, like, how do you just be like, okay, we're closing the facility, we're moving you, and I mean, did you just buy everybody all brand new stuff at the new facility? Like,
don't know. I have no idea.
That makes no, like, that's the things that always intrigue me about these locations. Like even like this past weekend, I was at Indiana State Sanatorium, and you know, you're walking through and there's drawers open, and in the drawers there's a pair of glasses. There's on top of a bed, there's a suitcase that's half packed, and you're like, why? Like, like, were you guys in a rush? Did the building catch on fire and like the alarm was going off, and you told Faye she had to leave her suitcase behind? Like, I struggle. Like, I'm an analytical person, and that's the stuff that really trips me up about these locations. Is like, okay, it's not like Pompeii, where we're still figuring this ish out. Like, this was like, it's 2023. Like, that's 13 years ago. So what the hell was your excuse for leaving Faye's bathrobe on her bed and her slippers, you know, and her family pictures on the nightstand? Like, that makes no sense to me. Why? Like, and why hasn't the family tried to obtain the records? And why hasn't the families, like, do the families not know? Like, it makes you wonder, like, did these people, like, were they abandoned? Like, were these people, like, left to these facilities? Like, it makes your mind run. Like, why? Because there's so many whys. And I think they're great whys to have. I think they're amazing whys, you know, but and I mean, and that's where somebody like me, with what I do, I would love to go and spend a week and dig up the history and see if I could trace down some family members and find out, because there's a story. There is a huge story behind what happened at Edinburgh, you know, like,
so
it don't make no sense.
The great thing so the great thing about this is what's well, I shouldn't say great, but there's over 150 unmarked graves, so that's still there. Like, they haven't found out who that makes it worse, right? Also, remember, this started out as a poor farm. So what they would do is, so back in the day, let's say, I don't know, let's say, Brie, we're married and you didn't make dinner for me.
Yeah, if I pissed you off, you can drop me off.
Yeah, but screw you. You make me dinner.
Yeah, if I put on the wrong colored socks for the day and it irritated you, you didn't like yellow because yellow you found irritating for whatever reason, you could take and drop me off and say I was being a bad wife, and by God, I was a bad wife, and there was no way on God's green earth I was stuck till I die. Those places were horrible. People would drop their kids
absolutely. Now let's get to my favorite part, the basement. Okay, so the basement has the most activity in it. The basement has a specter or ghost called the Joker. Now you're probably thinking, wait a minute, the Joker, like the Joker from Batman kind of thing? Yes. And the reason he's called that is because when people have seen him, he has this evil grin, wide-toothed grin. He's skinny. He has like this messed up hair. And he is not someone you want to mess with, because he has caused personal injury to many, many people. He also has a bad temper. He likes to throw plates. So he's been known to do that. He's been known to choke women, like women who have been, like, you know, let's say you're down there doing, you know, your little investigation. Like, women have said, I'm having trouble breathing, you know, I'm just going to go outside. And then when the investigators go, they're saying like, oh my God, you got like handprints like on your throat. So the story about the Joker is that he was put down here, was a psychopath, basically. They did not say he was a serial killer, nothing like that. He had some very mental troubling issues. He killed himself in a padded room that was down there. So he committed suicide. That padded room is no longer there, but the room you can still go to. But again, people said that if you do go down there, be very careful. It's very dark. It's, people have come out with not serious injuries, but personal injuries that have shaken them up. So if you do go there, Brie, be very careful. Hopefully, nothing will happen to you.
I always do the solos. That's where I do my isolation challenges in the worst parts of the buildings, though.
I would love to do.
I mean, you got to think about it. If somebody committed suicide when they were in a damn padded room.
Yeah.
Like, how off the wall was that? Like, what did they?
Yes.
How? I want to know how. How?
Exactly.
You're in a padded room. If you're in a padded room, you've got a straitjacket on. Did you choke yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just makes you really wonder, like, how? How did you?
Exactly.
I mean, did you make a deal with like an orderly and get your jacket off and they slid you? I mean, it makes the mind go, though. You know what I mean? Like, it really makes you wonder, like, why? Like, why?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've heard of the Joker. I don't like the Joker.
No. And just know too, it's something. This place has electricity, but it has no running water, and I think heat. So if you go there, just be careful that if you have you need bottled water. I wouldn't drink anything from those pipes anyway. Are you crazy?
Oh no,
but anyway,
definitely not. That would
definitely worth checking out. So anything more to add to? We go to our next location.
No, that one's an amazing location. Though you did good with that.
Yeah. So this one is on my bucket list, Brie. This one's on my bucket list. So we're going to Kansas next. Okay. And we're going to my bucket list, the Sallie House in Atchinson, Kansas. That one, I gotta go. Have to. How about you?
See, I want to do Sallie because there's been so much conflicting evidence out of Sallie.
Correct.
It is so sporadic. It's almost like the Monroe home. That it's almost like this is a roaming spirit or spirits. Mm-hmm. It's very it's not consistent. I've watched shows, and for a show you're filming for a week to make an episode, and everybody gets all excited about like, oh, look what happened, and it's like, but do you realize how many hours went into that? Like,
right.
It wasn't all overnight. Right. Like, you're watching like 5 overnights. They wore the same damn clothes just to make you happy. I hope you're, like,
right.
I'm hoping they change their underwear at least, but like, it's even with a full week investigation for a show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've seen it because it's been on like 3 or 4 different episodes. Different shows have carried it, and I've seen one where there was nothing. They got nothing for a whole week. Yes. There was nothing. And they questioned I believe they questioned the validity of the location, whether or not the owners were hyping up evidence, and which made me scratch my head. And then I've seen where the basement was like hell on wheels. Where they had the I believe it's the pentagram or the circle, like in the basement.
Yeah,
like,
pentagram. Yep.
And it was like hell on wheels in the basement. The living room was hell on wheels in the living room in a different show. I mean, it's so non-consistent, and because of that, I'm intrigued and I want to go. I don't want to go because I believe it's a demonic home. Like, I know a lot of people they're so quick to throw out the demon, Sally's house is demonic
because the little girl
house needs to be, and I'm like, there's no consistency to it to validate it. I think it's one of those
Yeah.
locations you got to go and experience yourself. And so for that reason, I want to go. I want to go so bad because I want to know if it's real. I'm a true investigator at heart.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I'm Gabby.
No. It's good. If you go there, Brie, you have to sign a waiver because they have reported injuries, which, like yourself, yeah, I've seen people like where they claim they're pushed. I've seen people where they, guys, take their shirt off and they're like scratch marks. And I'm like, but then nothing, and it's like the inconsistency is like, okay.
Yeah.
And like you said, they've been over 5 nights. What are they doing? What are they saying? I don't. But still, it's on my bucket list. The problem with it is it's not being very well maintained, so it's falling apart, which sucks. So if you go look at pictures of it, you'll be like, oh boy, maybe I should get to this thing sooner than later. And, I think people, the owners, like you said, maybe they're just like, I'm not making enough money to do this, or if I change it, someone's going to get pissed off. But you can't have a house that's not safe, right? You can't do it overnight.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, how are you going to get any income?
Right. Yeah, so it's kind of a shame. But anyway, that is on my bucket list. But there's also one I found that I thought was really interesting, also in Kansas. And it is, see if you've heard of this one, McInteer Villa. Have you heard of that one? It was built in 1889. Think of the Addams Family home, and this is the villa. So if you ever see the show The Addams Family or movie,
loved it.
It looks exactly like that. Looks exactly like that. So have you heard of that one at all?
Yeah, actually, Brian J. Cano?
No, I don't know him.
He does. He was on Haunted Collector. He
okay.
Does
right.
on Paranormal Caught on Camera. I'm one of his patrons. So I mean, it's not like we're like best friends, but like I'm friends. Like, and when you're in a patron, you get to see like upcoming events and stuff. And I was creeping on his events because he's got one coming up here in Ohio that I'm like foaming at the mouth over. And I stumbled across it, and it's actually September 6th, 15th and 16th. He's got a traveling museum, like the history of the paranormal. And he's going to have it there, and he's doing an investigation that Saturday night. So,
So the cool thing about this house is lights turn on and off in the tower, but there's no electricity up there. So people will see lights going on and off, and they have no electricity in the tower. Figures are seen in the windows. Figures are seen in the window. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. In the windows when no one is home. So people said, like, it's constant. I was reading, like, people will be walking their dog, and they'll look up and they'll see like someone looking out at them, which is creepy as hell. Also, there is a rocking chair that Goldie, and I won't get into, I'm going to do a separate one on this too, because there's so much. So Goldie was this woman who lived there. I can't remember if she was the mother or the grandmother, but you will see the rocking chair rock back and forth. Also, speakers. So people have had like speakers, if you're using, I don't know, setting something up or whatever, are thrown off where they're put. Like someone's laying, like a spirit is like, you can't put that there, and they throw it. Boxes move. So like a lot of paranormal investigators have said, they'll sit down their box and then it'll be over in the corner and they'll be like, okay, how did that happen? And last but not least, one of the other things is they will see a spirit appear. This is what people have said, like anywhere from 12 until 2 on the staircase. And it's of a young woman, and nobody knows other than if it's like the mother or the daughter or who it is, but it just appears and everyone's been kind of like, I'm not sure if that spirit's supposed to belong here. Like nobody has come forth and said, oh, that's Mrs. Stephanie or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So they believe that other spirits, other spirits are in this place that shouldn't be. And that to me is always interesting. Like, how does that happen, right? How is the spirit like, just like, ta-da, having a new place? So it's a very creepy place and definitely willing to check out. So,
and see, like with that, it's like, okay, like with the lady on the stairs. Yeah. Like here's food for thought. When something is timed perfect like that, that's where, and like we can look back at the farmhouse too. Just food for thought. I always wonder, is it a residual or is it intelligent? Because this is where the debate can get real interesting. Is you've got a lady on the stairs. All she's doing is showing up on the stairs. Same time every day. Farmhouse, you've got a dinner table being set. There's got to be a level of intelligence, you would think. Because what if somebody reset their kitchen differently? You know, like, would it still be set? So it just, it's like interesting to, something to think of. It made me wonder, like when you were talking about her on the stairs, like I wonder, like, is it, because you would typically say, like I can hear Jason Hawes in the back of my head saying, from watching Ghosts, like that, well, considering this is recurring at the same time every day, we're going to go with a residual haunting on this. Like I can hear him in the back of my head, with one of the very first episodes I've watched. So it's interesting though. Like there's lights turning on, there's no light. Like what is is that a spirit illuminating itself? Is that like is there like a nest of lightning bugs in the cupola? Like I mean, like what did somebody put a bunch of like those like Dollar Tree press on lights that like and they've got like did somebody get their erector set and like like just to mess with the neighborhood and
just to mess with them
there's so many different scenarios. Like I find that so intriguing. Like I know I can't wrap my mind around that. Like that's really boggling to me. That's really baffling.
Yeah, I love that. So
go stay the night there. I'm down. I'll do it.
There you go. I would love to. I love to check that out. And that's
I'm going to sit on those stairs for 2 hours. I want to see this woman show up. I want to shake her. I want to be like, what's your name? I want to give you a hug too.
And that is
give them all hugs. They're all getting a hug. Yeah, but when you say that,
a hug tonight.
When spirits are showing up though, and they're not supposed to be there, is there a portal? For one, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, it's a portal." Or if with the type of building and it is, are people bringing things in and leaving? Are they buying things from flea markets?
That is a great question. That is a great question.
There's another really cool question about this location. It makes the location even more interesting. Like what is a draw? What is the attraction? What is?
Yeah.
I think there's so many layers to this location that it definitely makes bucket list for me.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And one thing I forgot about Edinburgh Manor, there's also a lady in white that appears on the second floor stairs from 12 until 2, supposedly. Same thing. All right, I just remembered that. That was because I just did, like I said, the episode. And it's like clockwork, people say. So
like that's like, what is it with these? Like, are they waiting for their betrothed? Like, because that's typically what a woman would have done in a home, in a building of that fashion. She would have waited for, she would have came down the stairs, or she would have been greeted coming down. Like, depending on the time, she would have been on the stairs.
Yeah,
it just makes you wonder.
Yeah. Well, like you said, and like we both said, remember, at Edinburgh Manor, maybe her husband didn't like her in that white dress and said, I'm sick of this. See ya, honey. And maybe she comes down the stairs to be like, oh, he was just joking. He had a few too many,
He's
right?
coming back.
He's coming back. I'm going to come downstairs and I'm just going to wait here. That's to me, that one. That's just my way out guess. But you know what I'm saying? That to me would make more sense.
Like, it just, there's so many layers to like some of these cases, like the stories, like it just, I love it. Right? I mean, I'm sad that there's stories, but like for me, with my love of history, like this is the stuff that like if there's not history, you gotta have a history for a haunting, So it's like it marries, and the history nerd inside of me, like, is like freaking geeking out over this stuff right now. To be honest, like, I want to go. I want to figure that there's a story here. Let's go figure it out.
So you're gonna love this one, and maybe you've heard of this one. So next, we're gonna go to Missouri, and we're gonna go to the Missouri Penitentiary. Okay, this one was established in 1836, and get this. It was only decommissioned in 2004. It has 180 plus years of history lying within its prison's walls. And of course, some prisoners have never left. So talk about, like, I love history too. Talk about history geek, like, place to go. 180 years? Could you imagine that? And
I lived there when it was still in operation.
Wow.
I remember that still in operation. I remember it being on the news, them talking about what they were going to do. And so like, it's same thing with OSR, with Ohio State Reformatory. Like, I remember when that was in operation and they were moving the prisoners, and like, I remember all of that. I remember Missouri too. And like, there would be reports. They would, like, I remember like the smaller local newspapers, because I lived in Springfield, would do articles about like inmates that were complaining about the attacks that were happening in their cells, and they were like alone, like the stuff that was like the stories that were coming out of solitary. I mean, it was like, isn't that like the bloodiest? I can't remember. It's got a nickname, the bloodiest something, so many acres, or like the is it that penitentiary? Like, there's a couple of them that like
there's a
very
couple.
similar.
Ohio State Reformatory is not a decent one. And
Air Force One as well. Did you know that?
Yes.
Air Force One was also filmed in there too.
Yes. And you steal a little of my thunder, but we'll be in Ohio pretty quick. So
sorry, we were talking about.
No, that's all right, Brie. That's all right. That's right. So obviously, I'm going to do my own show on that one. And if you ever visit it, please let me know. Maybe we can figure out doing something together.
I will. If I go there, I will reach out to you for sure.
Love it. So this one you've had to have heard of. If you haven't heard, what rock have you been under? The Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri. You've had to have heard of this one, right? Been enough things. So I did an episode on this too. Talk about family tragedy. You think you're having a bad day? Just read some of the history about the Lemp Mansion, how committed suicide, have, just lost their fortune, who have done all this. It's just like, you read it and you're like, oh my God, this is horrible. And no wonder it's haunted. There is one funny thing, and I'm sorry I'm picking on you tonight, Brie, and women in general.
Fine.
So one of the things is, in the woman's bathroom, supposedly Charles Lemp, one of the brothers to the his father, he likes to come into the bathroom stall and peek over the stall at you while you're in the bathroom going and doing your business. So
I'd high five him, be like, you happy? Like, let's go. Can you hand me the toilet paper?
Hey. I've had other people say, "Occupado, buddy. I'm in here. Come on. What are you doing?"
I'd have to have fun with it. That's just how I am. People are like, what are you yelling about in there? Dude was looking over my stall. There's no dude. I know it was Charles. Okay. Do your history.
So the Lemp Mansion, you can go there. There isn't any overnight that I know of right now, but it also is a restaurant and a bed and breakfast. So you still, overnight, meaning that you can stay there at the bed and breakfast. And they typically don't mind people doing paranormal investigation as long as you don't disturb the other guests, because everybody knows who stays there. It's haunted. All they ask you is to be cordial if you're going to do a paranormal investigation. And they're pretty open for it. The people who work at the restaurant, every last one of them has had a paranormal experience. In fact, the owner of the restaurant downstairs says he can't keep people because they quit, because they're locking up and the glasses move, or they're, something happens and they're like, screw this. But there's been some brave souls who've been working there for a few years and they just get kind of used to it. Charles is looking at me in the bathroom and, someone's moving the glasses, whatever.
Shit happens. So, what can I say? I got a job to do.
Exactly. Right. So anything about the Lemp Mansion?
I can't worry about Charles in the bathroom. Sorry.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just Charles, make sure you're handing toilet paper out, all right?
Yeah. I want to go, pal. Yeah. So anything about the Lemp Mansion and all? Anything you want to bring up about that?
No, I mean, Lemp Mansion, that mansion's been on quite a few shows. The history is astounding. I mean, there were three suicides in that family back to back. And like, for what people don't know is that it was they were a brewery family. They like, even like the one show, I think they not only did the mansion, they investigated the mansion, they actually went back to the brewery, which is still I don't know what it's being used for now, but I know then, like, it was still there and they were able to walk through like the old barrels and stuff, and they did pick up some stuff there. But like, like I don't remember word for word, but like there's just a lot of, like, it was tragedy. I mean, the tragedy in that family, it really made you wonder if somebody walked under a ladder, broke a mirror.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Killed a black cat and then skinned it and wore it. Like, it was horrible.
Pissed off a witch. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because it was just, I mean, it was literally like back to back. I mean, it was like, and it's not like something happened like, 15 years later. It was like, shit hit the fan, and then it hit the fan again within 6 months, and it hit the fan again in like a year. And then, I mean, it was like pretty consistent, like almost every 6 months to like a year and a half with that family. And they say that because of the tragedy, because of how the lives were lost, because I remember like one guy, he took his life with basically a pea shooter. If I remember correctly, they found him with it would be a pea shooter. The tragedy, like the suddenness of it, like they're still there, they're still stuck, they're still reliving. They've even had people go in and say that they're still reliving their last moments of their suicides, and it's like they can't get out of that point in time.
Absolutely.
Makes me sad.
One other thing I forgot to mention, and there is supposedly a ghost of a boy who has like Down syndrome. And
in the
they're
attic,
known
right?
as the Monkey Boy. That is not by me. They would call. He was a son, like a bastard son. Supposedly Charles or someone else had sex with a prostitute. She had the baby, and then he kept the kid, because he was embarrassed of it, locked up in the attic. So you can see his face
in the windows.
Yes, the face. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that, because they even have like the little door and stuff. Like, there's a room set up for him still. Yeah.
Correct. So
I
yeah,
get,
and two, you can go in the, like you were talking about the caves. You can go in the caves where they kept the beer cold. Thank God, I'm a beer guy, obviously. Uh, and they would have wild parties down there. Like they'd bring in prostitutes. They'd bring in like
yeah,
think about the most decadent things, and they would do it in these caves. And so you go in these caves, and it just feels like not bad, but it kind of feels like, whoa, I feel weird, like something's going on here, right? You know,
yeah.
that's just
They've
crazy.
compared the parties to the Hells. Oh God, what is it called over in England?
Hellfire Club.
Yeah, they've compared them to the type of fraternization that happened in the beer caves. They've compared it to the stuff that happened in the Hellfire clubs, like over in England, like because of how like there was like rumors of satanic activity and like not so much like sacrificing but bloodletting, and then the prostitutes and alcohol and cocaine and
crazy.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
that and it's like when you hear about stuff like that then and you know that there was a lot of tragedy, you're kind of like, will you reap what you sow? Like I've heard people say that, will you reap what you sow? And it's
Yep. Absolutely.
I'm not saying that they brought it upon themselves, but they sure didn't make it easier for themselves.
Yeah, they didn't make it any easier.
So
let's go to Ohio. And you didn't steal my thunder. Ohio State Reformatory, Mansfield, Ohio, a.k.a. Shawshank Prison Movie, a.k.a. Air Force, and one of my favorite cop buddy movies, Tango and Cash, with Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell. They're big muscles.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day when they all had big muscles and they were young. And yeah. Anyway, so this is, as I did a thing on this too. This has, oh my gosh, so much stuff similar to the Missouri State Penitentiary. Have you visited this one at all, Brie, or are you going to visit it?
I've been there twice. I went in the spring, like end of spring. They do a Parapsychon there. And so I went for Parapsychon, and I took my oldest son to celebrate his graduation from high school.
Nice.
Yes, I'm that old. He's 19. But yeah, so I took him for high school graduation, and because they had like all the OGs there that like I raised my kids on, and so like he got to meet like Dave Schrader, he got to meet Dustin Perry, Brian Cano, Aaron Seegers. He was really geeked about the Ghost Brothers. Who else was there? Heather Taddy from Penn State. The Paranormal State.
Paranormal State, yeah.
Yeah, Paranormal State. Daniel, and I never Dan. He owns Hinsdale. I never pronounce his last name right. Class. KLA. Yeah. But yeah, he was there. Let's see, Shane Pittman was there. They had an all-star lineup. It was freaking amazing. Jason McLeod. Oh my gosh. Ronnie. I never pronounce his last name right. He does the Bigfoot stuff. Ronnie LeBlanc? Is that his last name?
Yeah, I think it's LeBlanc. Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, like we got to go and see like a whole art. Like it was, for me, I fangirled my way through that damn place because I've been watching these people for like 20. Like these were like the OGs. These are the OGs. I raised my kids watching. Like these were how I introduced my kids to paranormal. But come to find out, they were already having paranormal experiences. But like so the shows just made them feel like they were normal at that point, I guess. But that's what we would do. Like, what are you gonna do tonight? Well, we're ordering pizza and we're gonna cuddle up and we're gonna binge watch every ghost show that's on TV tonight. I raised my kids that's right. Great. So,
absolutely.
But yeah, we went there and it was crazy because like we were in for Dustin, like they had a shower area, not the one that they use for Shawshank, but the other shower area. that they used for what they would call lectures, like when, different people were presenting. And we were in there for Dustin's, and I'm sitting in the middle of the shower, and it's freezing. Like, I'm like shaking. Like, I needed a winter jacket. Like, it was cold. And my son's sitting next to me, and I'm like, aren't you freezing? And he's like, no. Like, I'm literally like shaking. Like, I wanted a winter jacket. It was so cold. But as soon as we left the shower area, I was completely fine. And then when we went in the end of the day, because the last group to talk was Ghost Brothers. So when we went in there, my son, he wears like the over the ear, ear pods. So he's got like the over the ear earbuds in, and we're talking, and I'm watching it come out like because the white part goes in your ear, and they're all black, and I'm watching the white part pull out of his ear, like straight out, and then it just flicks over his ear, and I'm like, whoa. And I catch it, and I'm like, well, that just happened. Like, okay. So I hand it back to him, and he's like, Mom. And I'm like, I just watched it. Okay. You don't need to mom me. I saw. And so he puts it back in, and damn thing does it again. Like, I'm watching, it comes out, and this time it flicked farther. Like, it went way down. And, cause we were like back in the shower area, and this sucker flew. And I looked at him, and I was just like, I could really scare the crap out of my kid right now, but I want to be nice. And I was like, well, you better get your earbud. Because in my head, I'm thinking, oh, they just want to whisper sweet nothings to you, like, because we're in the shower. Bad joke. But I did end up telling him that later. And he was like, Mom. And I was like, well, you're in the men's shower, and they wanted your ear free so they could whisper sweet nothings in your ear,
Yeah, absolutely. You're cute.
But they like those baby blues. What can I say? But I was in there again in July for one of my road trips. I went to OSR, and I actually had my daughter with me, who's 7, and we did the walking tour through. And when you get out of the walking tour, you stop, and you're on the sixth floor of the main cell block. And so I'm doing photo ops, so I can document the road trip, get it posted across socials. She's like, Mom. And I'm like, what? And she just looks at me, and she's like, something just touched me. And I'm like, there's only us on this landing. Was it a bug? Was it a spider? Did you bump into a bar?
Yeah.
And she's square in the middle of the floor. Nothing's by her. There's no cobwebbing. There's nothing.
Sure.
And she's like, Mom. And I hope that this is what got it. This is what she shows me. It starts at her temple, and it just went straight down to her chin. Like a caress, a single finger caress down her face. And I was like, are you, like, really? Like, you just got touched like that? And she's like, yeah. And she's standing there not crying or screaming, people. 7.
Wow.
My daughter's a freaking beast, okay?
Yeah. I'd be screaming.
I'm sorry. I love Project Fear, but Chelsea Layden would have been, like, booked. All of them would have been booked. If they'd been touched like that, they all would have been like...
Yep. Out.
OSR does not disappoint. We're done, though. I mean, anybody... maybe Katrina Wildman would not have screamed. Maybe Heather Taddy would not have. But, I mean, like, other... like
maybe.
There's men that would have screamed. They probably would have pissed them.
I'm one of them.
I'm one of them. And there's my 7-year-old daughter. She's beasting through. But, I mean, the OSR, awesome. I mean, daytime experiences, not even trying to investigate, just doing the walking tour, just trying to take pictures to document a historical building that's also ironically haunted. And stuff happened, It's a gem. It's a gold mine.
It is.
I love it.
Yes.
I can't get enough of that place.
Yeah, and it's so much involved in it, and like I said, I did an episode on it. Hopefully, you'll go back and we can collaborate and do something. So the last stop on our road trip is going to be in Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio, the Franklin Castle.
Yes.
So that's our last stop. Have you been there?
No, it's a private residence. It's close to the public.
Yes.
And there's the only footage I've ever seen, in all honesty, that I can recall coming out of Franklin Castle is Paranormal Lockdown with Nick Groff and Katrina Wildman when they stayed there for 3 days. And to get into Franklin Castle is near to impossible to be able to do, from what I've been told. And the accounts of a haunting are very much, let's go back to Sallie Mae, let's go back to Monroe. They're sporadic from what I've heard. I don't know many people that have had a chance to go in there, but it's supposedly extremely freaking haunted. Like the accounts that do come out that have been validated are insane. Absolutely insane.
Yes.
Like one of the rooms, I believe, burnt down and like killed, was it the 2 girls? Or was it one girl? Like they actually got it walled off.
One or 2 girls, but it killed. Yes, correct.
Now it's not a full room. You can't go.
Correct.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Like I would love to get in there. I think that it's worth a thorough investigation. I think it's worth
absolutely
digging into. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
It's a bucket list.
And really really what people have said, again, footsteps, shadows, feeling of dread, apparitions, full body apparitions. But here's the weird thing, and I've heard of this, but kind of, I guess. Your stuff, let's say like your cell phone, will be moved to a different part of the house. Like, for instance, let's say you put it next to your bed, right, to wake you up or whatever you're doing. I don't know. The next day, you'll find it maybe in the kitchen. And you'll be like, wait a minute. How the hell did my phone get from out of the kitchen? Like, it was right there just a minute ago. And it moves all throughout there. So people have found, like, their jackets in the basement. Have found, like, their phone in the bathroom. Have found, like, and it's not like, oh, duh, I'm having a senior moment or something where I'm going down and taking my phone. No, it's like, it's right there. And then you turn around and it's not there. So that is, that's a good one.
You know what? I'm surprised you did not put on your list, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Prospect Place Manor.
Oh, what's that one?
It's in Trinway, Ohio. And this place is insane. I actually covered it in one of my road trips. And it is gorgeous. It is built in the 1700s. And the family, they support the paranormal wholeheartedly. They actually do a ghost hunting academy out of there. You can rent for overnights. They do not candlelight, but they do flashlight ghost hunts. So this home, it's a manor. You've got your formal, like when you're on the second floor, you've got your smoke room. You've got your slaves' quarters. Well, not slaves, but servants' quarters. You go in, like when I went into the servants' quarters, it's extremely oppressive. I kept feeling like I was being pushed out of there. I felt like something was literally like pushing on my chest. It was difficult to breathe.
Yeah.
But as soon as I left that area, I could breathe. It was complete night and day difference. But this was a house that was used on the Underground Railroad. And so you had your basement where the runaway slaves would actually be kept. And there was different ways to get into the basement, and there was different rooms that you could hide in. And so you had your basement, and then you had your first floor. You had your elegant second floor, which went up to a third floor. And now Prospect Place Manor has actually been on different shows as well. When you go, it was abandoned for a while. And they found remnants of like satanic worship on the third floor.
Oh boy.
In the attic.
Yeah.
And there's actually a cross that somebody painted over the pentagram that's on the wall. And they believe that there's evil spirits that are now found into this room.
Ooh,
And but from the attic, you go up into what would be the cupola, and which is, completely windowed all the way around, all four sides. Now, when it was, from what I'm remembering, if correctly on this, is that when it was safe, they would light the candles in the windows. So then the slaves that were running to freedom, that were at the neighboring farm, they would know that it was safe to come, and they could get into the basement. If it wasn't safe, then of course the candles were put out. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So there was a marshal, a slave catcher. And the slave catcher kept going to the owner of the home and, confronting him. And he got real aggressive and threatened his life, if I remember correctly. So he left. He went to the local tavern. Well, the owner's two head barn hands went and got him from the bar, brought him back to the house, and hung him from the hayloft. There's actually a hole in the top of the barn where you can, where they would drop the bales of hay down. Yeah. And that's where he was hung. Actually, Ghost Brothers did an episode out there too, and they brought cadaver dogs, and I believe the cadaver dogs did hit on certain areas on the property. So it's just real interesting. But yeah, there's the haunting out in the barn from the marshal. There's stuff that happened in the home that people believe was brought in due to satanic worship, and due to slaves passing away. There were deaths on the property. Slaves did pass away in the basement, being injured or sick. But there's this property is phenomenal. That is actually I did do it on my road trip. I have not had a chance to investigate it, and it's a bucket list. It is a bucket list. Ghost Adventures has been there. Ghost Brothers has been there. A couple other TV shows have been there as well. It's a complete bucket list. It never disappoints. From what I've heard, from what I've seen, it will never disappoint in an investigation.
Wow.
So,
that's something
definitely write Prospect Place down. And it's in Trinway, Ohio.
Prospect Place. Brie, you're amazing. I could talk to you for hours. And you brought so much to this. But I just want to say something. Please check out everything Brie puts out there. If you could share with my spooky friends, where to find you, Twitter, Facebook, where else can you find you?
Okay, so I'm across all platforms. On Twitter, you're going to find me at Brie's Baby Brie. Facebook, you're going to find me at Brie Hollingshead. You're going to find me on Instagram. You can look up Brie Hollingshead, but my Instagram name's a little bit different. It's _beautiful_deliverance_. TikTok. I'm on TikTok with videos too. I do picture collages and I do live videos that I post on TikTok from my locations. You're going to find me there at Brie's Baby Brie. And same with YouTube, because now I'm doing StreamYard. So I'm streaming across all my major platforms that I'm able to with StreamYard. So you can find me on YouTube at Brie Hollingshead or at Brie's Baby Brie as well. So thank you.
Again, my spooky friends, do yourself a favor. Check her out and all her videos. They're awesome, have great history. She does an amazing job. You have been an amazing guest. And we didn't even have to change our pants. We didn't pee our pants.
No, we didn't. We did good.
Yes. We did good. We did Jay. Look for us. Yay. High five. So,
this was awesome.
So I always add, and again, I'd love to be on your show, so just let me know if you get a chance. I would love to be on there. And come, I've been talking to all my guests, and hopefully in October or something like that, maybe we can all get back together again. I'd love to have you on during the Halloween scary season, and
that would be awesome.
Yeah, we can figure out something we'd like to do. So I end every show by thank you so much. And I end every show by say hi to your ghost, because I already know you got ghosts. So we say hi to your ghost because we're nice, right? And I'm gonna add, we give them a hug. So give them a hug.
Yes.
And always stay spooky. Brie,
Definitely.
it's been a pleasure. I will put all your stuff up so my spooky friends can find you. And again, thank you so much. You've been wonderful.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure. I had so much fun. Thank you. Bye.